Anyway, hi. Welcome to another segment of the Saucy Marriage Weekend, you guys. And this is a special segment with a special someone in my life. I wanted to stop it. I wanted to add to this space for this first annual Saucy Marriage Weekend and invite my husband to be a part of that with me. I'm glad he said yes, because who knows? We have a couple here who've been married a year, a couple who've been married 25 years. My husband and I have been married 9 years together. I want to say 14, but it's 13. 13. 13? Stop. He's acting the foolery in front of the camera. But I wanted us to get an opportunity to talk to you guys as well, but this is a segment with a twist. So folks actually submitted questions to us that they wanted to have us answer. It's like if we flipped the script and you were talking to me and my husband, what would you ask? And so we're going to tackle their questions in this segment. So buckle up. I'm Imani Aisha. Who are you?
Ostis.
I can't. So, how do you handle work-life balance, and do you ever feel guilty about choosing one over the other? Do you want me to go first?
I used to feel guilty.
Yeah.
And I think it changed the way I worked. When I worked at the dealership, I used to work sometimes 6 days a week, more than 10 hours a day, because it was a grind, trying to make as much as I can, when you're chasing a paycheck, or when you're working an hourly job, the only way to make more money is to work more hours, So I'm out of that hustle now. Now I try to work smarter, not harder. So I'm trying to do less and make more. So not trying, but that's what we're doing,
Yeah.
But I used to feel bad because you used to kind of point it out, and I felt like, all right, I'm working hard to pay the bills, but then she says, you're never at home, so I was like, I don't know what to do.
Him.
I felt bad, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Did I change that?
I
mean, everything changed now that I work from home
that's
or
what I
work
was
for
gonna
myself.
say.
So
yeah,
that kind of fixed itself. You know what I'm saying? Because I can set my own schedule. I can kind of lay out. What time I want to be home, what time I want to be at work. I wake up when I want to.
What do you feel about time with me then, in terms of that balance and time with Sovereign and time together? Like, I feel like that's always a bit of a juggle, but
I don't know if it's a juggle. Our current situation, is kind of, we're not in our regular routine.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to kind of compare. But I think we had a good system, when we was back in Georgia. We're in North Carolina now.
That's a whole other story. That's not
back
here, but yeah.
But in Georgia, I think it worked well, how we did it,
Yeah.
But we got a lot to juggle, both of us have, our own businesses, then we have businesses together. And as you know, a business, is like having another child. So
yeah, we got a lot of children then, even though we have the one. Yeah.
It's always hard to juggle. So, but it's a journey, I don't kind of live in the past or, try to look too far ahead. You kind of just gotta go with the flow and, adapt as you go. So
Yeah. I feel like for me, I shy away from the word balance. A friend of mine brought that to my attention years ago, and I've stopped using that because it makes it seem like everything, all the pieces of your life are supposed to be like this. And that just didn't feel like it made a lot of sense, and it also contributed to a lot of my guilt. Even though I was working from home, a lot of mom guilt when it came to Sovereign. Am I spending enough time with her? And then times where you would express in your very special way that you miss me because I was working a lot. And one thing that I strive to do was to kind of say, okay, like, solution? What do we do? How do we spend more time together? I'm shutting off work at this time, and those kinds of things have helped me. But I look for what I call harmony. So the way that all of the pieces are going to work together. And sometimes something needs more of your attention. You're getting your dealer's license, that takes attention. You have to sit down, you have to do the work. Me, doing a big event, that takes more time from me. So that in that period, that's going to call on me more. So the time that I spend with you, the time I spend with Sovereign is not equal or balanced in the sense that it's an hour here, an hour here. It might be 15 minutes here and I'll spend 3 hours working. But to me, that's still harmony because attention was paid to all of them. And I think that's just been my mindset and how it's helped me with feeling guilty and feeling like I have some sense of harmony between myself, my time for myself, time with you, time with my daughter, teaching my daughter, time as a family. Is a lot of time that needs to be carved up for a lot of things.
That's what I said. I just wasn't as long-winded as you.
What?
I said go with the flow.
You
said it
you
in a
what? Go with the flow.
winded. Yes, I did. We're gonna rewind the tape, and then you're gonna say, "Oh, he did say go with the flow."
I'm not contradicting
Mommy
you.
brain again, huh?
I'm not contradicting you. I'm just saying.
I didn't say you contradicted me. I said you said it long-winded. I said it in a couple of words.
We'll see. I don't need to rewind the tape. If we're on the same page with this, that's great. We feel the same about that one. I can't. How do you define success in the marriage, and what's the secret to a successful marriage?
I don't know what none of that means.
What's success
Who knows,
to you?
Success is being happy with yourself and then sharing that with others, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you always look for a person to make you happy, or like you have to be all of these things first before you can, you can't look for it outside of yourself. So if you're happy, then you exude the happiness, and people around you are happy, your wife is happy, your child is happy because you're doing happy things, you know what I'm saying? If you're not happy, then everybody around you is gonna feel it, because that's how you feel. So
Yeah,
success, I mean,
that's a tough word, but that
it's
was
not tough. It's just like I don't care about what success means. Like that's to me, like I don't know.
when you say, how do people ask, how do you have a successful marriage? You know what I mean? Or I guess a successful, healthy, or you know, what do we do to ensure that we're having the healthiest marriage that we can have? You know what I mean?
We're honest with each other. We're real. We it took a while. You build up to it, but we
Yeah.
we communicate with each other how we feeling and how things make us feel. Even if it might come off harsh to the other person or whatever.
Yeah.
You just got to be real. And sometimes when you let it out, the other person's like, "Oh, that's it. Not a big deal. Thanks for telling me." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But sometimes we create things in our head that this person's gonna react that way, and a lot of the times when you come out and share it, it's really not that big of a deal. So I think communication, which is cliche, but that's in any type of
So,
relationship.
yeah.
Relationship with your wife, with your mom, with your daughter, whoever. Any type of relationship, involves communication. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's key, just to express yourself and be real. Don't be don't try to be somebody else.
Yeah. And so in in adding to and piggybacking off what you're saying, just working a lot from the inside out and working on self, I think has been a big part of our marriage, because we've not working on self or not realizing there were areas that we needed to work on. The other person will be a mirror for the stuff that you need to work on.
Right.
Like if you've been like, oh, you've pointed out things to me that I didn't even recognize that I was necessarily doing. And then I have to be like, well, why am I doing that? So if you're like, well, why don't you just tell me? Do you talk directly to all these people? Why don't you tell me directly what it is that you want? Instead of like asking me and waiting for me to offer it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that I was taking that route. And so now I'm like, well, why am I taking that route with you? Well, I'm not sure what your response is going to be, but I'm still going to say my piece. But I don't mean to dance around it or to kind of coax you to offer it. So that's something that I know that I can work on, to say, oh, if I asked it or if you point it out, I can be like, okay, I'm going to say this more directly to you. This is what I need, as opposed to, hey, I'm going to be working really hard. And, just like, okay, what do you need? And being able to just back it up and make it plain. So I would say that is really the crux of it, the inside out version of what it is we gotta we gotta do to be successful
Right.
in our marriage, healthy and all of that. Um, should husbands and wives have separate bank accounts, and do you? We do have separate bank accounts.
No, we don't.
What you mean? No, we have joint and separate bank
We
accounts.
have separate business accounts. That's different.
We've had, I mean, it's changed over the
We
years.
have the same bank account. We have separate business accounts.
Yes. But it's changed over the years because remember we've had accounts that were we don't currently, yes, we have the separate business accounts and we have our joint accounts. But in the past we've had fun accounts that were yours, fun accounts that were mine, accounts that we've used just for our own stuff that we wanted to use it for. But there's been ebb and flow in how we've chopped up and kind of moved our money around over the years. So that does change. I like the idea of having I like the idea of having separate, like this is your kind of mad money, fun money, what have you. Then you have your joint account and you pay your bills and your expenses through that account and you have a joint savings account and all of that. And you know what I mean? But I think when we got more businesses into the mix, they became it became about having the separate business accounts and then having the joint accounts for the household. So I think that was a shift that happened
Yeah. So I
at some
think you
point.
answered the question. It
Yeah.
all depends on your situation.
Yeah.
It depends on, what you're doing, what your comfort level is, with your significant other. I think a fun account for each person is a good idea, where you have like discretionary or not discretionary. You can spend on whatever, each person has their fun account. You do
Yeah.
whatever you want, if you want to get tools, if you want to get shoes, you know what I'm saying? I'm a tool cat, so I'm
Tools.
get tools all day.
Shoes. No, I'm just kidding.
But I always say I can make money with my tools. You know what I'm saying? The shoes ain't gonna make no
I
money
don't even buy a lot of shoes now.
anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it's been several years since I've
No, it's
gone.
been a long
It's been
time,
a
but
long
still,
time, but
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, if
now
the shoes gonna make you money, then I'm
I'm
all
pounding
about
that
that.
pavement in these shoes to make the money, honey. No, but yeah, I think in terms of, I think the person probably who asked this is maybe they don't have a joint account, maybe they think they should, maybe you don't agree on where and how you should chop up your money. Definitely when you check out the finance segment, start asking yourselves those kinds of questions. But for us, it's varied. We pivot a lot depending on what makes sense for us at the time, and that's one of the things that we've pivoted on. But I agree, I like having the separate accounts, not from a place of secretness or anything like that, but just from a place of, hey, we know what this money's allocated for. You got your thing, I got my thing, and this is how we roll.
And it ain't separate because I can see your balance, you can see my balance. So
What you mean now?
when we
Or
had
before?
it before,
Yeah,
it was fun. We
it was in the
It
same.
was the same login, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But you had your own card, I had my own card.
right,
So it wasn't a secret account.
right.
So
But I mean, you wouldn't be opposed if we had an account where we couldn't see each other's balances.
no.
Yeah, so I mean that's
But
fine
that's
with me
us,
too.
you know.
Yeah,
Other people are different.
yeah, I
You
agree.
do what works for you.
I agree. I agree. You do. Y'all know. I agree. You do what works for you. I'm just thinking about that particular aspect of if we didn't have each other's logins. It would be a lot easier to give each other surprises, okay? Surprise gifts when you can't see each other's login.
Or
Sometimes I'm on
or when you
Amazon.
order something from
I
Amazon and
know.
I
I'm
get a
like,
hit. Hey, what do you order?
disrespectful. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't even, I'm gonna have to get real extra
It don't
finesse.
make sense to have two prime accounts in one house, so
I get that, but I'm just saying, in terms of the surprise factor, it's fine. What has been, but I feel like these are two separate questions. But it says, what has been your biggest struggle? And when you're going through challenges within yourself, how do you not pull away from your spouse? I feel like those are, unless the second question is the issue, I feel like those are two separate questions. Do you want to tackle it as two separate questions?
Read that to me again. I got distracted.
What is she-
I don't know.
what has been your biggest struggle? And then the second part?
Mhm.
When you're going through changes within yourself, how do you not pull away from your spouse?
Big
That second one is a good question because we've dealt with that.
biggest struggle. I mean, biggest struggle. I don't like to live in the past, but since you're making me, revisit it,
We're not living. We're,
biggest
we're
struggle.
imparting. We're
I
sharing.
mean, everything is a lesson, you know what I'm saying? So struggle, I don't know if it's a struggle, it's something you learn from. It's a lesson. It's an opportunity to grow, I don't like to call things struggle. That seems like a bad juju word. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I mean, challenge.
Challenge.
That's
Okay,
better.
challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge for me was probably communication, and that's something I feel like I'm always getting better at.
Yeah.
In our relationship, in relationships, period. Just being yourself and letting the other person know who you are, so they can make a decision.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to acquiesce or saying, "Oh, if I act this way, this person is gonna, react this way." Just be yourself, so that person can make a decision, honest decision based on you giving them your true self.
Yeah.
Um, but communication,
What parts of communication were hard for you, especially as a man? Like, were
yeah.
challenging for you? Was it just
When
talking?
when you used
Period.
to say we need to talk, and after like while we're arguing or whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't want to talk right now because I kind of shut down
Yeah.
and need to cool off or whatever. So that was hard. I don't know if it was hard, but I didn't know any other way. That's what I was used to.
Yeah.
But then as we grew, I learned, how to communicate better and talk about stuff. And I mean, we argue, but it's not like um the argument where it's
Yeah.
like a day later. I don't want to talk to
Yeah.
you right now. We usually resolve it
Yeah.
right there, and it's not this period where I need to calm down or cool down. I usually recognize, early on, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's been a big shift for me because the challenge for me was not in, well, it was at some point a challenge me that you weren't speaking up, but it was like, okay, we're going to speak about this at some point. And when can we come back to it? So I don't know. I don't know if you've noticed. I didn't ask you. I feel like you have, that I'll be like, can you receive this right now? Like, are you in the space? Is this a good time? To say, okay, you have your space to process and do that. And one thing that I've noticed, it is quicker. Like, you come back with it in a quick way where we can actually talk openly and resolve it and move through the disagreement. But I had to, I have to ask. Like, just because I'm ready doesn't mean that he's ready and that's fine. And I would say that's challenging. And challenging for me was also being misunderstood. So if I say something, that was a huge struggle for me. Still under the umbrella, I guess, of communication. Like, I'm saying something to you, and I feel like you're responding to whatever you thought I was saying, and I'm confused because that wasn't what I was trying to say. And then I get kind of frustrated in trying to explain myself. It's almost like trying to pull you back from what you feel like you already know. And that was a struggle for me because I'm like, that's not where I'm coming from. Like, I'm me, look at me.
but you also gotta understand how that person is taking it
Yeah.
and respect that too. Also,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You can be saying it one way, but I'm hearing it a different way. We can
Yeah.
look at two things and we can look at the same exact thing and see it two different ways. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I agree with that in terms of being able
So
to talk about
communication
our
is the same
perspective.
way.
Yeah.
You may be saying a message, but the person receives it, even though you're saying this is not what I intended. That's still how that person received it,
Yes.
and so we got to respect each other on on that this person is saying it and they didn't mean it this way,
Right.
but this person received it that way. So let me give them some time to work on that, work that out. So
Yeah, I agree with that. We have to acknowledge that piece.
hmm
I think in the moment, though, we also have to be clear with ourselves. Or did we make this mean something that
it
didn't
doesn't mean.
totally mean, like, could we have not gotten upset because we thought it was something else and it really wasn't? And then it's like, oh, damn, we didn't even have to go there. Those kind of things. But we still, so that's the stuff we have to do on our own to be like, okay, what's actually happening versus what we made it mean, and what do we need to clear up here? Because I'll say sometimes I just want to be clear, or I'll say, hey, this is what I'm getting, and you'll clear it up for me, and that, I feel like, then we can avoid any other stuff that we don't have to deal with. So I agree with that. I think that's top notch. I feel like the other question is a different question. I think it's a good question. When you're going through changes within yourself, how do you not pull away from your spouse? Like, you got your own stuff going on personally. How do you not just say, okay, and be distant?
Take a breather. be in the moment.
You gotta
Because a lot of
meditate.
times we in our head and we saying this and that. You got to just shut that noise off and just, be still and just don't let the thoughts come through. And then you're able to see clear, you know what I'm saying? Sound like a guru, but that's what it is, man. You
That's
just got
what
to
it
slow
is.
down. And,
That's that Brooklyn
that's what I
family.
do now, man. I just
Yeah.
clear my thoughts, because we create stuff in our head and it's not even real, you know what I'm saying? So you
Yeah.
just got to see the real that's in
Mm.
front of you, you know. And that's how I do it,
I can probably be
personally.
I don't know if I'm a lot with that because if I see you going through something, it's my desire not to fix it, but to let you know I'm here and but I don't want to be the I don't want to be the one who receives energy that's not mine. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And same thing, you'll point it out to me, or I have to say, look, I know I just snapped at you, or I was snippy, but it wasn't about you, and I just need X, Y, and Z,
Yeah, and
and
most of the time
hopefully,
it's like that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
most of the time you recognize that because when you're the snapper, you realize that this person is just what you're going through right now.
yeah,
So when you on the receiving end, you kind of got to keep that in mind.
yeah,
So take it personal.
yeah. And we get that it's easy to take certain things personally, and I think it's a great question because even for me, I'm going through something personal with my family, but it affects him, and for me, it's helpful to know like I want him to
Because it's
lean
my
on.
family too.
Yeah, our family. Did I not say that?
You said my family.
I said my family, but it affects you, and I kind of meant that to mean like our family. But being that it's so personally, I guess, with my mom and our family, having you, it hits you and it hits me differently. But I want your support, and I want to share with you what's going on. But even you said I pulled away without realizing it. I wasn't being as communicative and I didn't even notice that, and he kind of pulled that out because I thought I was, but not about, I guess, more the deeper stuff that I was going through, and perhaps even me, who's more of a verbal processor, was processing some stuff on my own, which I think is fine. You know what I mean? But letting you know that that's what's happening. That I just trying to process stuff. What's going on with you? Sometimes I don't know is an acceptable answer, and taking the space that you need, but letting you know that that's why I'm taking the space. Um, and also how you can support me and asking the questions, what support do you need, and don't get not giving this, if you have a spouse, when you're trying not to pull away from them where you feel like they're giving support the way they feel like they should get it, but it's not as helpful to you. You either need to communicate, well, both need to happen, communicate what it is that you need, and hopefully
Right.
they will ask you what it is that you need, right? Because it's not as beneficial or helpful when it's not something that they actually need. It's just something you think they need or you've decided that they need it.
Hmm.
But I think that's a big thing that we can pull away when we're dealing with our own stuff, but that space is okay, and let your spouse know. And then, do you want their support? Do you want them to be there? I feel like usually we do. Um, and correct yourself if you getting snippy. Like correct, like, okay, that wasn't even about you.
My bad, my bad.
I'm tired. I have an attitude about something else. Like, to be able to say that is huge because I can't tell you how many times you can get into a disagreement just because the energies are off and it isn't in anything that your spouse actually did or that you feel like they did. It's just how you're feeling in the moment and you didn't take that time and space.
Hmm.
Yeah. How do you compromise in your relationship? I don't like this word, but you were talking about words earlier. I'm not a fan of compromise, but
Compromise.
do we compromise?
Well, you got to realize that you're not in this world by yourself, so everything's not always going to go your way.
Yeah,
You have to share this experience,
with you.
with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching this guru, recently on YouTube, and he said, something in this essence. So I'm like, man, that's true. A lot of the times we want things to go our way, and feel like if it doesn't go our way, then it's a loss. But like I said, we're not in this by ourselves, so we kind of have to take some L's or compromises, and then sometimes you get what you want, but it's not always going to be that way. So You
Yeah.
know, it's part of life, man. Just live life.
Now you the guru. For me,
That was funny. You didn't even laugh.
I'm sorry.
It's
What
so
was funny?
serious. Oh my goodness. It's
I
so
didn't. I was thinking in my head. Did you just do something funny?
no, obviously not.
For me, I think I don't. The reason compromise always connotes to me this idea that someone is having to make deep concession. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think the word just connotes that to me. So I always talk about, well, how do we get to resolution, right? And what that means to me is goes back to the communication piece of, have we heard each other? Have we put things out on the table? And looked at it from every angle that we can, and then make a decision on it. And sometimes that does mean that the way that you saw it is the way that we've decided, okay, let's try it that way, that's a better way to look at it. Or the way that I'm doing, that I put forth, okay, let's do it that way. Or we come up with something new together. So to me, that just means, like, how do you compromise? Means how do you come to resolution? Because some people compromise. They think compromise is, okay, I'm gonna shut up, I'm not gonna say what it is that I want to say, whatever, just do it your way. Or you really do have an opinion and you just won't say anything, you shut down, and then it comes out later that you're ticked off about it. And I feel like, in the past that
It's not really a compromise though, now is it? If
if
you
you just
if you're doing it for a reason
that's what I'm saying.
and
It's
and
not.
not truly letting it, go. If you're
Yeah.
holding on to it, then you really didn't compromise. You just
Right.
didn't speak up.
But some people think that that's
That's
compromising.
not compromise.
Right. And that's shutting down. That's letting the
Compromise is
energy down.
coming to an agreement that you're going to be this way or you're going to do that because of the situation. Not
Right.
I'm gonna be quiet and let it go, and then I'm gonna throw it back in their face, after a while because I've been holding it in.
Yeah. But people do that. So it's important to understand that that's a distinction. So
Maybe that's why you don't like compromise
because
because of that.
because of that definition of it.
Yeah, because that's what people think it is, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
It's
not
not.
really what it is.
Right.
Because
And
in
you're right.
businesses, you gonna compromise. A lot of the times, I look for used cars all the time. And to get a good deal, it's usually got to be something wrong with the car.
Mm.
So I'm gonna make a compromise and say, I'm gonna pay you for this car. Well, not pay you for this car, but I'm gonna get it at a cheaper price, knowing that something's wrong with it. But I'm gonna fix it up. But that's the compromise. I'm not getting a car that I can just buy and turn around and sell. I got to put some work into it because I know it's at a cheaper price and it's messed up. So that's a compromise.
Is
So we
that a
got to do the
compromise?
same thing in
Or
our
is that
relationship.
negotiation?
No, you well, see, it's ambiguous. I don't know. You got me confused now.
I know. We do this to each other sometimes where we're like, is it? And we prod on our way that we are thinking about things. So that's just
Could be a
but
compromise. We got to
but,
look up the
but the
Webster's
definition, right,
dictionary. I
of
think we got one in the
compromise.
back. Let me go grab it.
You gonna really?
Are we live?
We're not live. We're
All right.
recording.
Compromise, an adjustment for settlement by arbitration and mutual concession, usually involving a partial surrender of purposes
Okay.
or principles.
Okay.
2, law, an adjustment of a controversy by mutual consent in order to prevent or settle a lawsuit.
Oh God.
3, anything that
Don't
is the
read
result
3.
of concession. So I made a concession.
Okay, 1 was more accurate to say.
Yeah,
that
my comparison, right?
Well, the mutual.
Let me read 1 again. An adjustment for settlement by arbitration and mutual concession. Usually involving a partial surrender of purposes or principles.
Okay. The partial surrender of purposes or principles. And
Yeah, I don't agree with the principles
The
part.
principles part, I was like, I don't know. We're word people, y'all. But I definitely think that the mutual concession to me is the part that I was talking about. That it has to be a sense that both of you have talked about this and come to some kind of agreement, understanding that there's going to be some ebb and flow and some give and take. That yes, there might be some surrendering of what you thought was true, what you thought was going to happen, because somebody said something where you're like, oh, that maybe makes more sense. So let's at least try it. Those kinds of things. But to me, it's just getting to resolution and not stuffing down what you really feel and think, so you can hold a grudge for later. And I think that happens. So even for me, I think the the connotation of the word does trip me up.
Hmm.
But ultimately I just feel like it's the ability to find resolution together.
Right.
Yeah.
Come to it.
When you first started dating, what issues came up? How did you handle them?
When we first started dating, it was like
Lies.
a honeymoon.
Oh, I
My
thought you.
goodness, it
Oh,
was
not lies.
beautiful.
I think gonna. I mean, you about to sound like you
The
about to
only
be like,
situations that came
ooh.
up was mine, and she handled it well because I was tripping big time. So no complaints when we first started dating. It was more of my stuff, and she handled it very gracefully.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say like 100 things at first, and I was like lies before, but then you
No,
said
it was great.
it was. We were really ourselves from jump. We
Hmm.
just were very comfortable with each other. Um, in the very beginning of us just hanging out and going to plays and going out to eat and things like that. Um, it's just, cutting off things from the past, making sure that we were going into the future committed. Um, did you I mean, how did you want to
Hmm?
say what? Because we're being so vague right now. Because how did we
I mean,
handle it?
it's a couple of things. Like when we first met, when I met her, I was so open. I've never been that open with anybody else, before her. I laid out, all my shortcomings, all the things that happened in the past that I was, still dealing with, even though it happened, you know, 3 years before we met. I had my license was suspended for 3 years. I had two DUIs within 2 months. I let her know all that stuff up front. I couldn't drive. When we met, luckily
That's
we
true.
was in New York, so it
Yeah.
really didn't matter.
Yeah. I forget that part because
But
we were in New York. So
yeah, but I let her know, what I was going through because I was going through a spiritual growth, at that time, even though I didn't know it.
mm.
I was realizing, that I'm in control, of what happens to me, and I was just well, not was I well, you say was a happy person, even though you're still happy. You know what I'm saying? Make it seem like I was happy then, but
Yeah, you were happy.
yeah,
You
I
were
was.
just going
Yeah,
going through your growth.
and I'm still growing, but to me that kind of signified or signaled the beginning of that growth. And me and her was because I was open and I was going through this growth, and then the ex-wife popped up in there because she moved away. She we was long distance for a minute, and she was going out and like when we first started dating, like she's my best friend. We're doing everything together.
Yeah.
I really didn't hang out with anybody but her. And then when she went away to college in Georgia, that's when I started, hanging out with the guys at work. She's
Yeah.
going out having fun, and then I'm at home chilling, with my nieces and nephews. Like she having fun. I'm here by myself. Then I
Yeah.
called the ex-wife, and
That is how
that
he
ain't go
showed me
well.
he missed me.
I got a weird
and
way of
and
showing
then he
that.
told me about it. That's how I knew, like, what is
Yeah, because
going
I'm an
on?
open book.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things that was really helpful. You were really honest with me in the beginning, and that's something that I really needed, I respected, and I found attractive, and I made informed decisions. I'm like, you had stuff that you were going on. I'm seeing the man that's in front of me that is thoughtful and attentive and funny and goofy and crazy like me, and we can have these great conversations, and we can sit into Barnes and Noble and pick out books for each other and read them. That was one of our first dates, and you love to eat, and I love to eat, and so you were on your journey and I could make that decision. And for me, I feel like I was kind of coming out of a phase of not feeling like I was enough because I had dated young men prior who said I was everything, but then didn't really want to commit to me because I wasn't all out there with them. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't taking the physical part of the relationship as quickly as they wanted it to where they wanted it to be. And then suddenly I wasn't enough. And he kind of met me coming out of that space. And it can be triggering now, like, oh, am I enough? Because I thought we had this bond and this is happening, but I knew you didn't. I asked him point blank, like, you don't want to, do you want to break up? Is that what you're doing? I don't. I'm not going to act like I do in a safe space. I want to be with you. So why would you do that? And then tell me like something else is going on. And we were able to talk about what that really was about. Like, you miss me, and we're long distance, and we were in our relationship for 2 years. So that's something. We were together for 8 months and we dated, and then we had 2 years of being apart from each other, and we would see each other uh every month. But
Hmm.
there were 2 months when I first got there. This is when all of this was going down, that we didn't see each other because I don't know whether it was financial or I don't know why we
I think you
had.
had to settle in and all that stuff, or did you have like your permanent residence?
No, I was staying at a
Yeah,
friend's, but I feel like you could have stayed with me. I don't
yeah.
know why we made that decision, but for some reason, the first 2 months he wasn't there. We didn't see each other. We didn't travel. So it might have been financial. Maybe I was waiting for
I was
my
balling back
refund.
then, player. I was getting that VA stimulus, player. That was 2,500 a month.
Man, that New York one was very different than the
Just
Georgia one.
doing well. I paid for that,
Yeah,
military
you were in
and
the
all that. Yeah,
military. Yes, you
wasn't
did.
free.
You earned it.
Kind of. Yeah, paid
Yes.
$1,200 for that. Basically, that's a good investment.
I don't know what that means. You
Yeah,
paid 12.
I don't know what it means either, but
So, but yeah, we were dealing with that distance. I was dealing with coming into my own space and like not having someone prove that I'm enough, but kind of realizing that for myself. So I was dealing with that, and I feel like you were very patient with that with me. And so that, for the first time in a long time, that wasn't an issue with somebody that I was dating, around, how quickly we're physical, all that stuff. um we were able to navigate through that, and I was very open and honest with you about that. So I think, we had some hiccups, but I think they helped us get to know each other a little bit more. For me, I was I was okay with us having situation disagreements, having times where we didn't agree, having times like, I don't want to deal with you, you don't want to deal with me, as long as we were able to move through it. Because to me, that was telling. To me, that was part of getting to know you. How did you deal when I wasn't your favorite person? And how did I deal when you were my favorite person? So that to me is, I think we handled things well. I mean, we got to this point, so
hmm.
I feel like this question is for you. How is it being how is it being married to a marriage coach?
Oh,
As if it's
it's
just
great. It's
a
the
lot.
best thing ever. Oh my goodness. You guys don't know what you're missing.
Please. Yeah, everybody should be married to
It's
a marriage
awesome.
coach. Yeah, that's what
Nah,
he's saying.
nah, nah. I think it's great because she has a lot of patience and that has helped me grow. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. And it's not like that situation where you think you're married to a shrink. The shrink is trying to get in your head, and it's the opposite. She respects our relationship enough to not try to coach me per se, but her patience is what really helps because I got a temper or that can pop off easily, but as our relationship has grown, you know that thing is it's what do they say, few and far between.
Yeah,
Yeah, something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah.
so
And you
so
take the space, and I'm not in the
yeah,
I'm no longer in a place where I'm following you while you're taking your space.
yeah,
Like, we're about to talk about this right now.
yeah,
You can take your space, so you have the freedom to do that. And
yeah.
I've learned to take my own,
All right, calm down, coach. This is my question. You trying to run away with it again? Play it, please. I wasn't done. Let me finish my thought. Good lord, this is what I'm talking about. This is what's like.
No,
Nah.
no.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, but no. I think we learn and grow from each other, and you really have a lot of patience. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
With me, because
mm.
coming into a relationship, when I was courting you, it was cool. But when we moved in with each other, that's when you really learn the other person and you decide what you want to, compromise on or whatever. But a lot of times we have an argument and I just shut down.
Yeah.
But her patience and her grace, coming to me, with an open mind and
Mm.
just seeing that, it's helped me grow and really appreciate her, for that.
I feel like I have never heard you say that.
World premiere, baby.
I'm,
Exclusive.
I'm exclusive for real. I'm like, I'm listening. Like, let me be quiet over here and let you go. I feel like I'm not. I'm a marriage coach, but I'm me, and
Right.
so I don't come to it like, oh, I know I'm the end all be all
Right.
because this is what it is that I do. I learn from my work. I learn, and it's a
Mhm.
constant reminder for me. I think that helps me have patience and grace because this what I do allows me to lean into marriage and communication in a different way. I'm inundated with it all the time, whereas a lot of people aren't, right? And not just my story, but other people's story. And so that's a privilege and that's an honor for me, and that's been really helpful. So, thank you.
Was that your question or mine? Because it sounded like you was answering it.
I was just in. I was felt.
I'm just confused. I
I
need
just
some
it.
clarity.
I feel like it was a question, and so
Mhm.
we both offered our stuff.
Because
Um,
I could be a marriage coach, sometimes. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you want to go into business together?
No.
What's your favorite thing about your spouse? What's your favorite thing about me? I feel like you just said a lot. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
'Cause
go ahead.
you just really laid it on me on that marriage coach question. Um, I feel like you push me to take purposeful risks. You you give it to me straight. I thought I was blunt until I met, until he evolved into more of a blunt individual. But I've taken that in the sense that he's just really direct with me and honest with me, and he's going to be honest with me. I love how goofy you are with me, and that we can just have fun and we just roll with the fun. Like somebody can be doing something crazy, and we will jump on the crazy train together. And I think that's our ability to just laugh and have a good time and to have fun is pretty strong in any situation that we're in. So yeah, I love that. I love how much you enjoy absorbing information. I'm just beyond me. Like I was an English major, but I just mean the amount of information that you absorb and the varying kinds of information on either YouTube or videos you watch or documentaries or books you're reading or audible books you're listening to. It's it's really amazing to see. I mean, you have a lot of you really take in that whole thing that we're always learning,
Mhm.
like from the cradle to the grave. And you're really great with your hands. I mean, you're handy. He fixes cars. He's fixing things in the house. It's really handy. So I enjoy that. Yeah.
You married your dad.
Oh, because my dad's handy, but no.
And all the other stuff too.
There are other things, but not fully, not really. All the Freud people, you're not gonna have a full field day with this one.
I love you.
Aw, I love you too.
I mean, there's not one thing. It's everything. When I met you, it was your aura. I said this to you before, but it was something about you that wasn't just a physical thing. Although that was something that attracted me to you, but
Thank
it was your
you.
energy. I saw you caring for other people
Mm.
that I thought was I thought those were your daughters. You know what I'm saying? I
This
thought you was
is
married. I was like, damn, this person is sweet. The energy was just there. And then come to find out she's just a naturally loving person. And she gets along well with most people, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that attracted me to you, just you didn't have an agenda, it didn't seem, you know what I'm saying? And when
mm.
we spoke and when I met you, it was confirmed, and even though I reneged in our first game of spades playing together, like I always remember that memory of me
Yeah.
first meeting you. And I think that, kind of sums it up. That
Mm.
feeling of like when I met you, I was like, she's the one, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody else. Cutting everybody else off,
All
that
the
was
other
it.
ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. that made me think of something else I really love about you too. That you can be in a room and converse with anyone, but you're not like life of the party Joe type of person.
Hmm.
But you can hold a conversation. You're not the person that's like, oh, you got to stay next to me because you're uncomfortable with people around. You know how to, carry a conversation, hold a conversation, introduce a conversation, and so you can kind of go off and do your thing and we can come back together. And so that thing about people, I think you too, and you have a caring heart. You pick up people, ask people if they need help, pick up people on the street. I'm like, it's not safe, but okay, somebody needed a ride. Okay. So yeah, thank you, baby.
I would kiss you, but you got that stuff
I
on
knew
your
he was
lip.
gonna say that because of the
Stay in the
lipstick,
way.
y'all. But yeah. So that's all the questions that we have, you guys. Make sure that you tune into the rest of the segments in the Saucy Marriage Weekend because we are just getting started. We have a whole other day, and we have our live panel discussion coming up on Sunday. It's gonna be lit. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much, and thank you for taking some time out. I'm trying to get you. He's like, no, he won't let me. It's fine. I'm gonna when this is over, when this is done, yeah.
Peace.
Bye, you guys.